Welcome. This is the Men Church Stuff Podcast. This is the show where brothers-in-law DJ Culp and Brad Coleman talk about stuff from our perspective as men. It's a show for anyone who wants to hear how Christians interact with the world. And don't worry, we're real. We've grown up in church, and we want to share our experiences with you. We'll talk life stuff, church stuff, man stuff, and stuff. Here we go. Greetings, listeners here and there and everywhere, all across the land. This is the Men Church Stuff Podcast. I am one of your hosts, DJ Culp, as always here with my beloved brother-in-law, Brad Coleman. Brad, what's up, man?
All of the kids and Tabby went back to school today. Yay.
Congratulations.
And
yes.
I am rejoicing. They were not so much rejoicing.
And they rejoiced.
I made celebratory waffles this morning for everybody.
Dude, heck yeah, you did.
Yeah, Belgian waffles. Homemade.
All the way from Belgium.
They were good. Yeah, I went all the way to Belgium and made them.
And then brought them back. Yeah. So I would have had the same opportunity as you had last week. Like Shara and the kids, they should have been all back in school last week, but Thursday and Friday, Noah had impetigo, which I thought was pronounced impetigo. And if there's anybody that doesn't know what impetigo is, imagine chickenpox on your face. That's what that is. And it ain't cool. So I was at home with him on Thursday and Friday. So like the whole ramp back up to, school starting, I'm still kind of like getting myself there because my schedule's just been crazy whacked and the summer's over. Wow. But, Brad, we got a couple updates for our listeners. Nothing has dropped officially yet. Brad and I are still gathering what we need to gather, and we're ordering our ducks. They are very hard to herd, but we are ordering our ducks. Yeah. We are soon going to have a Men Church Stuff store. We'll be doing some stickers. And Brad, what do you got going on your end?
Well, we're working on some shirts and some hats, because who doesn't like a good t-shirt and a good hat?
Dude, good t-shirt and a good hat. Listeners, if you're regulars of the show, you know that I'm a hat guy. If there's a hat that fits like the way I want it to fit, dude, I am so down. I will wear the heck out of that thing. Yeah. So I'm excited. Maybe a keychain or two. Just kind of again, we're getting our ducks in a row, but be on the lookout in the future. We would also like to welcome. I want to say that in the last 24 to 36 hours, Brad, I think that we've had a grand total of 16 or 20-ish people join our Facebook group. Awesome. So listeners, if you don't know, we've got a Facebook group. You can head over to that. You can always go to www.menchurchstuff.com. Check us out, contact us. Still want some funny church stories. I'm in the process of writing another blog, but there's a couple blog posts. I know, Brad, that I saw that you were writing one. Is it ready yet? I haven't looked.
Well, I know we were having a little issue with how to post that and all that stuff. So.
Okay, so it's still in the works.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, we just want to do a little housekeeping at the top of the show. So Brad, dude, let's dive in to a topic that everybody knows, but I don't necessarily think everybody likes to talk about. What do you think?
Does people like to talk about it? Do people like to talk about it? I think people misunderstand what it is.
I'm down with that. Yeah. So listeners, our topic today is humility. All right, let me just kind of get a bit of a footing here, grounding. I have this written down, that humility requires a proper perspective of our own lives. And I don't
Yeah.
remember if I heard that in a church setting. I don't remember if that was, my pastor or training or something I was in, but I wrote that
Yeah.
down, and it was just one of those thoughts that I needed to really chew on. Humility requires a proper perspective of our own lives. So, like Brad, what like starting out, what do you think about that?
I would agree. I would agree. I think a lot of times we think humility is putting ourselves down and downsizing ourselves. I think uh, that's the typical,
Hmm.
especially in a church. If someone tells you, "Oh, hey man, you did really good," it's like, "Oh no, 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 I'm not that good," or
Hmm.
like like if I take a compliment or if I accept a compliment, then I'm not humble.
Yeah.
Um, but I think you got to look at what the root of humility is, and so arguably that's still kind of humility, but it's I don't think it's the way God intends for us to have humility.
I think,
Because
yeah, I would agree. I think
to be
like,
humble means to be brought low.
okay.
To be brought low. The scripture tells us to be, you know, humble under the mighty hand of God,
Hmm.
right? So for me, humility, part of humility is understanding, who God is and who I am under God. That I'm not God. That I'm not not overinflating my evaluation of myself.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm a sinner saved by grace. I didn't do that on my own.
Right.
I I didn't earn it. I can't keep it. You have scriptures that say stuff like, why do you guys act like you didn't receive it when you received it? Like, no,
Yeah.
it was given to you because of Christ. So I think, though, I think one of the biggest problems with humility or understanding humility is that if, we've got the idea that if I accept the fact that I'm good at something and accept praise for it, then
Hmm.
I can't do that and be humble. And so, therefore, downsizing those things and undervaluing those things, at least like verbally to other people, is humility. And I think a lot of times it can become I don't so much like the word false humility or more probably pseudo humility. It is a type of humility.
I no, I
Um,
like the prefix pseudo with that. I think that works.
yeah. But again, I think I got to be careful because I'm not putting those people down. Ironically, being humble means to be brought low. So I'm not putting those people down who
Right.
are doing that. I just think it is a misunderstanding. I mean, my dad was that way. My dad struggled to take a compliment.
Mm.
If you're like, he ricochet it to a praise the Lord, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. We want to give God the glory. We want
Yes.
to give God the praise. Um, but hey, you know, Paul, you're pretty good evangelist. You know, Paul's not going to go, no, I'm not. I'm horrible. I mean, yes, he thinks he's like, I'm the worst sinner, but
Right.
I don't know. Maybe arguably would, but
Well,
I
no, but
think,
no, I think you're on the right track because I mean, Paul himself said, "Imitate me as I imitate Christ." Right?
right,
And I mean that's a
absolutely.
paraphrase, but I mean that's that was the gist of what he was saying.
Yeah,
And to your point, Brad, I also think that the opposite would show itself to be just as true, like false humility to like, no, I'm the worst at what I do. It's
yeah,
all crap.
yeah,
I think that's false humility, but then that's what you were saying. But I also think
yeah,
that the flip side of okay, well, I'm going to give it all to God.
yeah.
I think can also be like like a flamboyant type of lip service.
Mhm.
And here's why I say that. One of the greatest, and I'm not going to give his name, but one of the greatest wide receivers, really, of our
Mhm.
generation, um, who short guy, relatively short guy for wide receivers, insanely fast. I remember after a game that his team won, he was being interviewed, and the person said, great game or whatever. What would you like to say to your fans or something like that?
Hmm.
And he started out with saying, "Well, I'd like to first and foremost give all glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ."
Hmm.
Which I was thinking, dude, this is awesome. And then the interviewer said, "So, what was kind of going through your mind when you made this particular play?" And he said, "It's all about me." And I mean, he inserted his name. He even spoke about himself in third person. And then the
Hmm.
rest of the time, it was about how he played the game, how his
Hmm.
contribution made everything better. And so again, it's
Hmm.
that's absolute pseudo humility,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And like you and I are big fans of, if you're going to call it what it is, just do it.
Hmm.
And I think like I know humor aside, I think self-deprecation
Hmm.
can absolutely be something that can become very damaging, right? It's something that well, one of the things that I got to thinking about, and I'm really glad that you mentioned humble means to be brought low,
Hmm.
because being humbled means that you are brought low.
Hmm.
Humility means that you do it yourself, right? Like humility is or so let's go. James 4:10 says, "Humble yourselves before the Lord; He will exalt you." So
Hmm.
humble
Right.
yourselves,
Well,
meaning that, but it's something that I have to do, right?
right. Well, so here's the play, right? Because exalt means to be lifted up.
Yeah,
Humble means to be brought low. Exalted means to be lifted up. Like that's what those words mean. And
yeah.
so it says, humble yourself. You bring yourself low, and God will exalt you. But I think that the opposite is true in Scripture too. It's like, but if you exalt yourself,
You will be brought low.
then
Yeah,
then God's going to bring you low. And again, that's part of that is His blessing too, because you're getting too big. The Tower of Babel, getting too big for your britches.
right.
Like they were going to build a tower to heaven. Now, they didn't know what we know.
No, that's
You're going to
right.
get so you're going to get so high and the oxygen's going to get real thin. You're going to get so high in the structure that you're building is probably not going to be able to hold the weight. So this was a disaster.
Yeah,
Like the fact that God like confounds us so they can't do it anymore is really part of his mercy,
right.
I think, because
Yeah.
they're bringing themselves high and
We can't we certainly
they're
can't go
about to
down
get
and
brought
call
low
it call
real
them
quick.
morons. Yeah, like they're
Yeah.
not going to respond well to that, and that's not very
Yeah.
loving.
Yeah. So, but but again, there's a more, and God will exalt you, right?
Yeah.
So being exalted by God is is then not a bad thing. But I think we have just concluded that if there's any exaltation of ourself at all, then it's bad.
All right. Well, let me interject this because this just popped into my mind. And I'm gonna see if I can't word it exactly. Being exalted by God is a good thing, and I actually don't quite remember what you said afterwards because my brain went, "Oh crap." So one of the things that we've talked about on the show, and I honestly think like, if our listeners are even shoot, man, even just casual churchgoers, right? Like, I mean, if
Mhm.
they're just sort of like nominal Christians, even like I think it would be a fair statement to say that most people that are affiliated with the church in some way would agree that God speaks to us, yes, through His Spirit, and yes, through revelation. There's that like the obviously uber spiritual list, but that God also speaks to us through other people.
Mhm.
So who's to say that the compliment that you gave that somebody gave you
Mhm.
isn't actually like God exalting you through someone else?
Yeah.
Because I think it's off like it's super easy. And I'm gonna say this, and like automatically it's almost like so DJ, you're being arrogant right now. I'm just talking about reality. That's it.
Mhm.
Because I over the last, no joke, Brad, I'm 42, over the last
Mhm.
5 years, And maybe not even that. I've really started to
Mhm.
figure out I need to be able to accept compliments.
Yeah. It-
But up until that point,
mhm.
when I would hear people compliment my playing,
Mhm.
I'd do the whole dodgy thing. Like, nah,
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
don't know what I did wrong. Like you're
Yeah.
not good enough to give me that compliment.
Hmm.
You don't know. And that
Yeah.
was absolutely false humility.
Hmm.
I would, and by in a self-deprecating way, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, a masked arrogance.
Yeah.
But I refused to believe that they were correct. And
So,
over the
yeah.
years, I've started to realize, wait a minute, it's okay. It is
Hmm.
absolutely okay. And it is possible to be humble
Hmm. Well,
and be acknowledged that what you're doing is of high rapport.
right. Well, right. Right. Like the fact that you're a good musician, and that you understand that. Now, that doesn't make you better than everybody else. I mean,
That's
like,
correct.
might make you a better musician. Like, if if I play the drums and you play the drums, I mean, it's quite evident that
Very, very clear. Yes.
one of us is much better than the other one. And I'll let everybody out there figure out who that is,
Yeah. It's not gonna
on their
that's
own.
gonna take people very long.
Yeah. So again, so understanding your skills and all this, I think the problem sometimes comes, and I think this is what we're trying to guard against as believers, right? Is us taking all of the credit instead of crediting God. Like,
Yeah.
there's the king in the Bible whom God humbled him by having him be like a beast for a while. He kind of went crazy. He ate
Nebuchadnezzar, right?
grass. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar, because like he came in and said, "Look what I've done."
Yeah.
Now, after he gets his mind back, he changes his tune. He goes, "Look what God has done."
Yeah.
So I think again that we're acknowledging that. So let me give you an example.
Hmm.
I had sinus surgery a few years ago, and finally went to this ear, nose, and throat specialist who was highly recommended.
Hmm.
Because the one I'd gone to before did not work out very well for me, and I'd been to several, different states and all this.
Dude, I don't
Always
think
had sinus problems,
I don't
always
think
had
I knew
sinus
that you
issues.
went to different states. I knew that I remember that
Well,
you
I
had
mean,
the
like I'm
surgery,
saying, like
but
I moved.
oh no, I
No,
knew that. But yeah, I didn't realize that it was that big of an ordeal.
yeah, no, like probably since I was a kid, I had this chronic sinusitis.
Wow.
So went to this guy who was like top five in the nation, ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Dang, dude.
Like, yeah, just awards, all this stuff. And this is how someone who had gone to him before and said, "Hey, he's excellent. And he's a believer,"
Yeah.
and all this stuff. So I go to him, and this is what he told me because I brought it up. I said, "Oh, so I hear you're like, you know, top five in the nation." He's like, "Well, I've been doing this for a long time, and
Hmm.
I'm really good at what I do. And God has blessed me, and He's given me the ability to, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what he said, but
Yeah,
basically
right.
to take care of business. And that's what I'm going to do is we're going to get you taken care of because that's what I do. That's, is we're going to do it. We're going to do it right." And he took, they had sent me for like a CAT scan. He took me in his office and he pulls it up and he's showing me all this. He says, "You see all this gray area, light gray area here?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's not supposed to be there. That's buildup." He said, "You've got chronic sinusitis. You've probably so you think you're getting sick multiple times a year." He said, "That you're flaring up." He said, "You never got well.
Oh
Like at
my
some
gosh,
point in
dude.
the past, a long time ago, based on this
Hmm.
buildup,
Yeah.
you got sick and you never got better. You just your immune system would beat it back into your sinuses basically.
Hmm.
And then in a time of weakened or whatever, or, you know, increased allergens or weather or whatever, like it'd beat its way back out. It would come up, and so you've just been doing this. You've been doing this several times a year." He's like, of course, he's got my medical history. But again, my point was here is a guy who is one of the best ear, nose, and throat specialists in the nation. He's
Hmm.
won awards for it. Like, there's papers that say it.
Yeah.
And he's owning, I'm really good at what I do. But he's also in the same breath going, God has given me this ability.
Right.
And it's part of what I do is, God's used me. And when he said, I pray for all my patients and I'm going to be upfront with you. And sinus wise changed my life with what he did.
I can attest
Uh,
to that, listeners. I
yeah.
know, like I do. I remember that. I remember when you got the surgery, and dude, it was incredible just to even be around you,
Yeah.
and watch how, like when you're around people for a long time, you just become blind to kind of like their ticks.
Yeah.
All of the sniffing and
Mhm.
like almost it's almost like readjusting. All of that
Yeah.
was gone. It was pretty incredible to see.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's been lasting. Yeah, just the benefits.
Yeah.
Now, if we take what we typically do in church as a Christian, and again,
Mhm.
this guy was a Christian or is a
Yeah.
Christian. Um, Now let's do that. Let's mock that up, right? Let's walk
Mhm.
through that. I come in and, hey, I hear you're one of the top five, in the nation, ear, nose, and throat specialists. I'm not really that good,
Bye.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But
out.
right, I'm gonna be like, well, can you tell me who is? Like, can you recommend
So
somebody that
Brad, I
in your
yeah,
opinion is? Because right, I don't want
I
my
definitely
ear,
like
nose, and
I
throat specialist to be
definitely
like,
think that you are hitting on the double standard that I can't speak to the world. As a matter of fact, I think the world I I don't want to say it wrong, but I think the world has a more consistent view on their own opinions of themselves than we as
mhm,
Christians do. And the reason I
yeah,
say it that way is just exactly what you're saying. No, I'm just okay. I'm not going to talk about my
mhm,
awards. Why not? You better talk about your awards, dude. You're about to cut inside my face.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and like and Brad, for me, let's bring it back down. Let's kind of bring it back down to real world where someone's health isn't hanging in the balance.
mhm,
One of the things that I talk to my students all the time about, and I don't know if you know this about me, dude, I love teaching and I love being a servant to
mhm,
my students, and I love having like holding the posture, a true posture. I'm not posturing, but holding the posture and teaching them the posture that what we do does not benefit us.
mhm,
Like it is like as educators, we are supposed to pour out everything that we've got
mhm,
into our students in our particular area for what, like hopefully it's because we feel like God has called us to that. Now, why am I saying all of that? Because I love having those conversations, but whenever you ask me about being a drummer, everything shifts. And not because I still am I consider
mhm,
myself the biggest servant on the stage. But dude, I am good at what I do. And that
mhm,
is my seat.
mhm,
I do not want to share my seat.
mhm.
Like and you can call that pride, you can call that arrogance. I don't care. You can call it egotism. I might own it. But if I don't get the gig, something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like I've got that competitive drive, but
Mhm,
it's not because I need to be first. It's because I know how much work that I've put in. I know the ability that God has given me and crafted in me over the
mhm,
years
mhm.
to be able to show people, yes, you can do this and still believe in Jesus at the same
Mhm.
time.
Right.
Versus, yeah, I'm okay, I guess. Why don't you just let me play for you? Let me go ahead and get the gig and play and put
Yeah.
your reputation
So,
on the line. It doesn't work that way.
so I'm going to say this, and I'm going to hope that my wife doesn't listen to this episode because if she does, it's going to blow up in my face and she's going to use it against me.
I will absolutely tell her to listen to this episode
Yeah,
now.
I'm
Go ahead.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Um, if we are good at something,
hmm
right, and we intentionally, in a ploy for calling it humility, downsize what what we do and how good we are, isn't that kind of in a sense deception? We're we're not being truthful. We're not being honest.
So
We're
Brad, I'm guessing that your preface means that your wife, that maybe Tabitha won't even have to say anything. She may just have to give you a look. Is that what I'm hearing you kind of say,
yeah,
Brad? Is that
yeah. She'd be like, "Hey, I mean, my wife is really good, and I need it. Let me be honest, okay? I need it. Saying, hey, you know what? I heard something about that in a sermon
that's right.
last week."
Don't pay attention to me, woman.
Yeah, and I'm like that's not nice. That's not nice. Sometimes she reminds me, you know why it hits home, Brad? Because when you're preaching His word, not yours.
That's
And
right.
so
Yeah.
it's
What
not
would
like, hey,
Brad's words
listen,
sound like? So I know what God tells us to do, but why
yeah,
don't we just pretend that we suck anyways,
yeah,
and then we can, then we're good. Then we're
yeah.
good.
So like, again, I think a lot of times, again, like we're looking at pride, right? So there's the opposite of humility. We're
Mm-hmm.
exalting ourselves. It's my dad would call it getting too big for your britches.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to understand or try to have a good, accurate picture of where we are. Because if I'm not a good musician, like I can tell you right now, I've never played the drums. I couldn't even tell you what the different, I could maybe get you through what the names of the different drums are. I couldn't explain to you why they're different. Yeah, they make different sounds. I got that. I, I can read about as much music as most people, which is not very much at all.
Right.
I used to be able to know my very eager mother or whatever. Or is that the
But
planet?
clear,
See, I
like
don't even
if you're,
know.
dude, if you're already using the word V for very, you're way off base.
See, yeah, right. See, that's what I'm saying. I mean, so like I know
My
without a
M.
shadow of a doubt, I would be if I were to get up on a drum set, I'd be horrible at it. And I would need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Part of that is knowing that I'm not a great drummer.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I've had 3 drum lessons. I'm ready to go play with DJ. No.
No, you're not.
Right. So that over evaluation,
Yeah.
I think, becomes dangerous. And again, I think we're, I don't think some people are just trying to appear humble. I think most church people are really trying to be humble. They've just
Ooh, dude, I want you to
seen the example of this is what humble is.
can you
When
run?
the
Can you,
guy,
dude? I know we're totally going off script with with the questions that I had. I want you to run with that. What do you like? Unpack that a little bit more.
well, I think we're taught justly so, right in the Bible, right, that we're supposed to give God glory. He's made us. We're supposed
Hmm.
to be humble, right? And so I think we work toward being humble. But if the example that's been shown you, if this is what humble is,
Hmm.
then you're going to imitate that.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the humble guys I knew and my dad was one of the most humble guys, but like he's gonna tell you, oh, I'm not that good. He would have. He'd have been like, oh, it was nothing. Wasn't wasn't a big deal. And so I think I caught that more than like, my dad didn't teach me that. My dad didn't say, hey, Bradley,
Mm.
always downsize your accomplishments.
Yeah.
No, my dad was one of the biggest encouragers, like, oh, he, he, I, he'd talk about me to people and, oh, he made this many tackles in football, or, he's going to graduate, valedictorian and all of this stuff. My dad taught me, give God the glory. Don't don't sit there and act like it's all you, that you didn't receive anything. So like the fact that you've got the brain that you've got, God put it in your head.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he even got on to me for cursing or my intellect. I remember very specifically I was struggling with ADHD, which was undiagnosed and all this stuff, and my brain was just and he was like, that's your intelligence. Like that's why you think like this and deeply and all this stuff. And I was like, well, if that's the case, I wish I was stupid.
Mm. Oh,
And
dude.
he, like, I just
Oh,
remember
gosh.
my daddy. I
Oh.
was, in high school, my daddy standing at my bedroom door and he pointed his finger. He said, don't you ever curse your intellect. Don't you ever curse the gift that God has given you.
Hmm.
But I think, again, for me, So what I was being taught was humility is understanding that God gave me these gifts. He gave me these abilities, that without him, I can do nothing, like Jesus said. But yet my dad showed this version of humility. He had that, but
Yeah.
he also had this add-on, which was like, but I'm going to kind of downsize anything I did. So that's what I did. It's almost like just so ingrained in most church people, I think that I know who are humble and who are trying to be humble,
Mm.
and they really struggle to have confidence. It's just been in the last, and I'm still very uncomfortable with this, DJ. And we talked about it on the podcast before. I'm so uncomfortable talking about it. But I donated a kidney in 2011,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the time, like for years and years, I don't want anybody bring it up because what would I say? It wasn't a big deal. It
You
wasn't a big
could say,
deal.
"Why, yes, I did." Have
Yeah,
you done that lately? Yeah,
yeah,
I get that, man. Totally get it.
right. And I don't need to act like I'm Jesus. Like, yeah, I brought salvation. No, don't.
Listeners, if
But
anybody ever says that to you, run. Run
and
hard and
you're right.
fast.
That's right. Please, to
Go.
Jesus, to the.
Run to real Jesus.
Yeah. So, one of the ways that your sister has kind of, and I think God has used your sister to get it across to me, is she said, "What would you say to somebody else who had done the same thing you'd done and was saying the same things that you were saying? What would you say to them?" And again, when she's right like that, I resist. I'm like, what?
Li-
What was that? What was
Brad, I
it?
want you to know that one of my favorite parts of the show, and again, as you mentioned, it doesn't happen often, but one of my favorite parts of this show is watching you have to actually get enough courage up to say my wife is right and
Yeah,
she's going to let me know.
yeah,
It's one of my favorite moments.
yeah. You have a good wife. That's, she's far above
And listeners,
rubies
if
and
you're
gold.
wondering, so DJ, why don't you say that more often? Because I let Brad talk more.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah. But, and I'm like, you're right. I can't argue with the fact that if somebody else had donated a kidney and they were saying, hey, it's not a big deal, I would be like, yeah, it kind of is.
That's a
It
big
kind of
deal.
is a big deal. Again, and so, but acknowledging that it was a big deal is not then me just overinflating myself like, well, DJ, like you ought to like bow to me every time I come in the room. Have you donated a kidney to somebody? No, I didn't think so. You
Brad,
know,
I'm sorry I didn't mention this to you, but my shoes are on right now. So as we record this podcast, please accept my apologies.
yeah,
That
I'm wearing flip-flops, so makes me
that would be you're
superior.
standing on holy
But
ground if anybody didn't pick up
yeah,
on that. Sorry.
yeah, but again, I think that we need to get a better understanding of what humility is. We have
Yeah.
to guard against pride because, and I think we can be proud even if we're not good. But I do think that when we are good at something, we're in more danger
Mm.
of falling into the trap of pride, or I think probably the better word for our understanding is vanity. Right?
Hmm.
Falling into that vanity,
Yeah.
like I am God's gift. No, that's Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
Jesus is God's gift to humanity. Um, and the gift of God is eternal life through Brad Coleman? No, no,
Right.
through Jesus Christ our Lord. Right? Hope nobody misuses that soundbite. I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Right.
Did you say this? Well, yes, but it
Yes.
was you got to contextually. It was not heresy and blasphemy.
Um. Yeah. And I mean, I've never in my life. So I'm really kind of using this metaphor almost as just as like a mock
Mm.
concept, but I've never in my life ever heard anyone actually say, "Dear Lord, thank you for making me so good at." You know, I've never heard
Maybe a
that.
child.
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe
a
a child.
child.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay, I take that back. Maybe my son has prayed something like that,
Yeah.
and I get it because he's learning. So, that's
Hey,
not appropriate, but
I worked with a 6-year-old once,
mhm.
and he was a literal certified genius.
Oh,
Like
wow.
estimated like 130, 150, like IQ
Yeah.
up there. This kid was studying physics at 6 years old.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, dude. What the heck?
and was talking to him, and I said, and I don't want to use his name, even though this was long ago, just in case, because he was a little guy when I met him.
We'll call him Leon.
Um, yeah, Leon. I was like, hey, Leon, you're really smart, aren't you? And he said, not not to brag, not to brag, but I am smarter than most of the people in my class. And now he's 6 years old,
He's
and
he's
I know because I've talked to his mom, and plus I can see like this kid's intellect. He's
yeah.
6 years old. He would write messages to me in code. He would write messages in code, and I was able to decode it.
Oh
And
my
so I would write messages back to
goodness.
him. So we had this over the summer. We'd write messages back to each other in code. Nobody
That's
else,
so cool, man.
And like it's just I loved this kid. And his parents were trying to teach him humility again. Like yes,
Mm.
but the reality was he was smarter. Like that was how much an understatement. He's like I'm smarter than most of the kids in my class, and I'm like you're smarter than most of the people that you interact with. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
tell him
Like
that
you could have
because
just
it's
ended
like,
with I'm smarter than most of the people.
yeah, because it's like
Just end it there.
you are, and and I really appreciate his parents. I talked to his mom, and I was like, man, he is just incredible.
Yeah.
I was like, he's going to do great things, and she was like, that's her prayer, basically. She's like, because we realize with his intellect, he has the ability to do great things or really evil things. And
Mm.
I was like, and you're right. I said, but the fact that you are aware of that
Yeah. Put
is
you ahead of the
probably
game
going
for
to lead
sure.
him more
Yeah.
toward
Yeah.
doing the great things. Because there have been some very, very intelligent people who did some very evil things in
Correct.
history. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, but again, that, that humility, that understanding, like you're not going to tell a genius, he's going to figure it out sooner or later, right? That he's smarter than everybody
Yes.
else.
Well, and what I was thinking, Brad, is for a 6-year-old to say, I'm smarter than most people in my class, dude. You're studying
Mhm.
physics. That means that
Yeah.
as a 6-year-old,
Oh yeah.
yeah, the rest of your class is juniors or seniors in high school.
Jeez.
So
What? And
you know,
so he was at this, they had put him in because the public school would not work with him. Because again, he's special needs, not
yes, he
special needs as
absolutely is.
in,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the other side of
Yeah.
special needs,
Yeah.
right? And so they found this Christian school
Hmm.
that would let him, because they wanted him to be around his peers,
Mm.
his age. And again, emotionally, he was probably even a little under like some of his peers like as
Mm.
far as like those things, but
Yeah.
mentally, like far superior. So he would do like recess and break and art and all this stuff with the kids that were in his class, his age. And then he would go and literally sit in and do physics and the stuff with the high schoolers.
That's crazy.
And it was like, yeah, you're smarter than all those kids. My
And
cousin was working there. My cousin Stephanie was working at the same YMCA day camp that year,
uh-huh.
and she interacted a lot with him. And she was like, I just can't even talk to him because like I just don't know what to do with a 6-year-old that's smarter than me.
Yeah. I was about to say like, and I'm dead serious. I almost can't think of a more intimidating scenario, like for myself, than
Yeah,
sitting in a room with a 6-year-old who outranks everyone's intellect 10 to 1. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, what do you
yeah.
do with that? I can't look at this kid.
So
Like,
and I love this. I loved this kid. Like I would tell you, it was incredible because and for me it excited me. I was like yeah, I know on like one level you are a lot smarter than me.
yeah.
Um, but also I'm intelligent enough to know that that's okay. Like there's a lot of people out there that are a lot smarter than me.
Now,
It doesn't make them better people.
right.
If they're people aren't as smart. And there's many different I love Einstein, right? I love Einstein's, he said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll think it's stupid all its life.
Hmm. And here's what I want to do, Brad. let's go back to what you were saying about
Yeah, sorry.
no, no,
I
no,
get
no, 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 you're
excited
fine.
every
No,
time
yeah.
I think about that
You're good,
kid
dude.
and that summer.
But no,
It was so
I
much
think
fun.
like I love where the show has gone. Um, because when you said what you did about, you know, I really think that there's all sorts of church people that are really trying to be humble, but
Mhm.
they've just been given the wrong model
Yeah.
from which to use.
Mhm.
I think that another part of the humility is the fear
Mhm.
of either A, thinking that we're better than we are and being exposed. And I mean,
Mhm.
like, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, I don't know what you do, but I can assure you, like working in the profession of the arts, like capital A, I'm exposed day in and day out to, I would argue, the highest percentage of those people are in the arts categories.
Mhm.
We don't like we take what we do so personally, and if we
Mhm.
become exposed that what we like who we think we are is actually not who we really are, I mean, it's more than self defensive self
Mhm.
defenses go up. I mean, it's you want to talk about like identity crises, there's depression, anxiety, suicidal rates, I mean everything, like that's the arts category. So anyways, I think there's a large portion of people that either A, are fearful that who they are and the quality of their work will either be exposed. But I think spiritually, I think it's like we don't know what to do with I can do something right. I don't like
Mhm.
because I think as you mentioned, I think whether it's intentional or not, the outcome is the same. We are taught in church culture that we need to be humble in all
Mhm.
things. I agree.
Mhm. Mhm.
But that does not mean that we need to punish ourselves, right? We don't need
Mhm.
to. And I'm trying to think. The word escapism is a perfect word for it. But like, we don't need and it's not deprecate, but we don't need to actually do damage to our own psyche, to our own, and speak ill will of the
Mhm.
gifts, in fact, that God has given us.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think oftentimes we don't know what to do with. I'm good at this, but I love Jesus, so I should not be
Mhm.
good at this, or I should not
Mhm.
agree that I'm good at this. None of that goes together. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Mhm. Well, and so like I think about David, right? When David comes and nobody's standing up to Goliath, he's like, one, like he's like, why is this
Yes.
Philistine out here mocking our God and you guys are just standing here? But when he goes, he says to Goliath, or he says in that whole thing that there was a lion and there was a bear, and they came after the sheep. And God delivered, the lion into my hands. He delivered the bear into my hands, and he will deliver you into my hands. Now, he was giving God the credit,
Mm-hmm.
but David also was confident that he could sling
Yeah.
that 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 slingshot and throw that rock.
And Brad, I would argue that that right there, and this is the first time I've ever thought about that, but that statement right there was the only chance that David was giving Goliath to back off.
Yeah,
This is your out.
yeah.
Like he's delivered me
Surrender.
from the lion, he's delivered me from the bear, he will deliver you. That was Goliath's opportunity to go,
Mhm.
I believe you. Like
Right. But, instead, and again, I don't remember exactly who talked first in the conversation, but, Goliath calls out the God of Israel,
mm-hmm.
you know, and he's standing in the power of the God of the Philistines. And I was like, man, you done messed up, Aaron.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you was already on the wrong side. You were already messing up, but you just made it real personal
Yeah.
with the God of all creation who goes, yeah, I'm gonna send a little guy and he
Yes.
gonna knock you down to size.
Um well, Brad, Why don't we just end it there, dude? Because I feel like if we were to look into another question or two, I feel
Yeah.
like the show would just kind of start to get long without having
Yeah.
a ton more direction. So let's just bring this one to a close. And I don't know if you can hear it or not, but there's a person who's weed eating behind my office anyway. So um,
I can't hear it, but that doesn't
okay,
mean
well,
everybody else can't.
if it's coming through to the listeners, my apologies. I'm up here at work, but listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Really, we love you guys. We love doing this. Um, I love the fact, Brad, that like topics for us to talk about are never going to run out ever.
Yeah.
Because I
Like
mean,
so we
like
can talk
like
about humility
we can talk about humility for the rest of our
for
life. And what we would like is, listeners, we would like to hear from you, and please contact us. If you go to our website, contact us. You can actually tell me and Brad both how humble you are appreciative that we are. So
yeah.
there you go. You have your next assignment.
Yeah.
Just make it nice and neat. DJ,
You
you're
can,
the most humble person I think I've ever heard.
and you can yeah, and you can pick up our book. It's soon to be coming out, How
That's
We
right.
Conquered Pride
How
All
we
by
conquer.
Ourselves.
We're not going to tell you that we're going to write it in invisible ink.
Yeah.
But
It's just gonna say we failed.
we failed.
Open it
Yeah,
up.
dang
We
it.
failed miserably.
We asked all sorts of people to review this, and nobody would.
Yeah.
But yeah, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Share our show, rate and review our show. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Let the public know. Give us 5 stars. Give us a little blurb. Love these guys. Love the conversation. Whatever it is that you like about our show.
But
But
be
again,
honest.
yeah, be honest. Yeah, be honest. And I mean, I suppose if the show absolutely sucks, then I mean, let people know that too. But
I mean,
not
you don't
in,
have to.
maybe use better words. Anyways,
Yeah, you don't have to do that.
you don't have to do that. That's
We don't
right.
want you to lie, but sometimes silence is the golden.
That's right. Well, on that note, listeners, remember, go check out our website. Be looking in the relatively near future. We will make sure that when our store opens, that there will be a hard line date to look forward to. But other than that, we really love you, listeners. Brad, I love you, buddy.
Love you too.
Listeners, we will catch you next time.
Go be his church.